Hello and welcome to the fifth tutorial that looks at the spreadsheet section of the GCSE ICT Unit 2 controlled test. Now in this tutorial we will be looking at another quick example of the data validation technique that we used in the last video, a drop-down menu. But we're going to be using it for a slightly different context. We're going to be using it in this column here, number of games played, in which we should, because we know the total number of games that took place were 20, we're going to be able to choose a number between 1 and 20 from a drop-down menu, which I haven't got at the moment, but I will explain why. So if I clear all my formats from there, I go to the Home tab and I will clear formats. And let's just clear all to make sure. So then, the other thing we're going to do is we're going to be looking at the number of games attended, in which we use a very basic single operator formula to work out the number of games that each player has played divided by the total amount of games played. Now if we have a look at the mark scheme here, there's two marks which we will be able to pick up in this section. We're going to be formatting the cell to show a percentage. It could be currency, we could change the amount of decimal places, that's not a problem, but in this particular instance we're going to be changing or formatting the cell to show it as a percentage, and that's worth one of these 5 marks. The other one is using a formula with a single operator, which in this case is a simple division formula, so we're going to be dividing two numbers, and that's also worth one of the 5 marks. So let's have a look at doing that now. If I go into our spreadsheet, first of all we're going to do a quick data validation, which is in the last tutorial if you need to have a look at that again. But what we're going to do first of all is we need to have a drop down menu with numbers 1 to 20 on it, so we can choose from the list how many games they've played. So what I'm going to do, if I type 1 in that cell and I type 2 there, I could just carry on typing 3, 4, 5, and it wouldn't take me long, but there's an even better way, and this is a really nice feature in Excel. If I do 1 there and 2 in the cell below, if I highlight them both and I go over to the fill handle in the corner, a little square, wait till the cursor changes, click and hold and drag it down, and you should see that the number is changing every cell that I go over. And I can drag that down really fast and it will do it no problem at all. So I go down to 20 and there I have my 20 numbers. Now remember, you could put this absolutely anywhere. I do apologise, I haven't put 20 in there. You could put this absolutely anywhere. I could put it over there, I could put it over here, I could even put the numbers going horizontally. But as it is, just for the time being, I'll put them there. But it all depends on your own spreadsheet design. So I've got 20 there, 20 numbers, and if you remember, I'm going to do a validation technique now, which is the drop-down menu. So I go to Data, Data Validation, and I'm going to choose from a list, and my source, which I've already created here in a list form, is these numbers here. So you click, highlight all of those there, and you should see that they're selected by the dotted line. So I go back to my options there, press OK, and now I've got my drop-down menu. And remember, I need to do that again, go over the fill handle, click and drag down to apply it to all of those cells. And now I'm just going to make these up as I go along. So remember, you've got to imagine that you're copying this from a piece of paper that somebody's given to you to convert it into spreadsheet form. But I can make all these up as I go along. Let's say they haven't played too many. They've played 19 or 18. Let's say another 16. A couple of 20s now. And 8 for there. And we'll go down to, say, 19 there. So now I want to show how many games they've played as a percentage. So the number of games they've played is shown here in number form, and I can change that at any time. But I need to find the percentage, and this is where our formula comes in. Now what I tend to do is, if I know this cell is going to be shown as a percentage, I will format it already as a percentage, and I can highlight the cells that are going to have a percentage in them, right click, format cells, and this time I'm going to choose the number tab. Now on the number tab, I can change it so that if it's currency, it has a pound sign or a different sign showing, but I'm not currently going to use currency. I can change the amount of decimal places, which is where we could get our other marks from. But as it is, I'm going to go down to percentage, and I'm going to I want it as a nice whole percentage, so I'm going to take off the amount of decimal places. And I'll press OK. So now, if I was to type 10 in there, it would automatically come up as a percentage. If I was to type 0.2 in there, which is obviously a percentage, or represents 20%, if I click away, it converts it for me. So again, if I was to type in there 1, get rid of that, you can see it automatically does it as 100%. So it's really nice to format your cells before you actually put any formulas or data in there. Now I know that my total amount of matches that could have been played is 20, so I'll put total matches, and then in the cell next to it I'll put 20, because I need this to just be a number. I couldn't put that in the same cell because obviously I can't use a formula and divide a number by text. So this has all got to be a solid whole number. So then, the basic simple formula, we should know now from your Key Stage 3 lessons that any formula always starts with an equals. So you're telling Excel that you're going to perform a function or a formula. I then need to choose the cell that I want to first put into the formula. So I'm going to say C8. Now I could type that in if I want, but it's easier just to click onto it. And then I'm going to do the division symbol. But this is slightly different to how you would write it if you were going to do it by hand. Here's a picture of a keyboard here. Now on the number pad side of the keyboard, the division symbol is here. It's the /, and it's usually located above the 8 key. There is another way of doing it as well. If you go here, it is just left of the shift key, or the larger shift key, and on the same key as the question mark. So you can click that one there. So if I go back to the spreadsheet, so I've got this cell here is equal to the value that's in C8, which is 20, divided by this cell here, which is 20 as well, the value of this cell. So really, we know that if they've played 20 matches and it's out of a possible 20, it's going to be 100% attendance. So now that we've formatted our cell to show it as a percentage and we've done our formula, hopefully, when I press enter, there we are. The formula works perfectly. So just to go back to the mark scheme then, we have formatted a cell to show it as a percentage. We've actually changed the decimal places to 0, which is another mark, but we can only get 1 for doing any one of this selection of skills. And we've also used a formula with a single operator, so that gets us 2 out of the 5 marks on the mark scheme. So there we are. A few nice little tips there just to get you 2 of those marks quite easily. So back to the spreadsheet then. What we're going to be looking at in the next tutorial is how to apply this formula to every single cell in this column. Now we know if we use the fill handle, and I can click and drag it down, it should apply the formula to every single cell in the same way. But as you can see, it's not gone quite right there, and I'll explain that in the next tutorial.